Okay, so what we'll be doing today is creating a Star Wars hologram effect. And we're going to get the window open. We've got this hologram effect. So you've seen it, it's pretty much every sci-fi film, just doing it now. But holograms are cool, and we want to create our own one, like so we can put, our own animated hologram in Ventuz. I will try to create one. You've seen it in games and in the movies. Now we're going to make our own. So let's get started. So open up Ventuz. You're going to create a new scene, empty scene, and we're going to need some assets or models. So I've already pre-downloaded mine. You can get yours from Sketchfab, for example. There's Sketchfab. And you can type in, for example, Star Wars, or you can use any other model. It doesn't have to be Star Wars, it can be anything, any model, to be honest. You can just say downloadable if you want it animated. I've got an animated one, so the one I'm using is a stormtrooper, dancing stormtrooper, this guy here. It's dancing. But yeah, you can go for any you can go General Grievous or whatever you want. But anyway, let's get started. Once you download it, just download it as a GLTF and import it into your scene. So I have it here in my desktop. On my desktop I have a Star Wars folder in my stuff folder. In my Star Wars, I should have a Star Wars folder. Here you go. And under here is my GLTF. It's just an extraction of the model. So I'm going to delete the geometry import node. Okay, now scale this up. I'll scale this down, sorry, shall I say. And there's a Star Wars guy. Okay. So a few things we want to do to the model is, first we want to select those three materials, and where it says Fong, I want to change this to inherit. So they inherit the material above. So now they're looking for a material to inherit from. So I'm going to apply a new material, place it in front, and this will inherit, they will inherit whatever properties is up here. So if I say no light, it's going to be no light. If I say base color, it's going to be base color. And if I change the color now, you can see it's now adding that tint. So I can say, okay, I want to add a tint of blue to this model. So I keep existing textures, but we're going to have one material control the overall look of it. So I'm going to change this to a Fong. There we go. And change the specular to like a grey. And make sure that my playlist is working. Yeah. Okay, so you can change around with the sharpness and all sorts. Right now, you notice we've just got default lights in our scene. So what we want to do is go to our lights, and we want to apply some point lights into our scene. We're going to place it after the axis, so if we move the model around, the light will move with it, so it's parented to it. As you can see right now, the light is there somewhere, or it's somewhere here actually, to be honest, and on the 0 position, I think. No, it's up here for some reason. Oh yeah, because the axis above is driving this position. But anyway, turn on non-render objects. You always find your point light. I can change the position. We want to light him from the bottom, like from the bottom beneath. So increase that range and increase that gain. There we go. And we're trying to create this hologram look, so where it's always lighting up the hologram from below. So where the specular, I'm going to turn that to a grey again, and under diffuse, I'm going to add the tint of blue and increase that range. There we go. Of course, you could do something like the whole body if you want, but I'm going to do like just half of his body, and I'm going to hold control and duplicate, and then do the top half with another point light. There we go. Of course, you can play around with the position of that. There we go. And reduce the range perhaps. There we go. So it's not as powerful on the face. I don't mind it being powerful here because this is where our light source or hologram, you know, where the device will light up that hologram. There we go. So that just looks pretty cool. So now let's go to our material, and we want to change a few options on here. So we want to add a rim light. So we're going to go down here and go to rim lighting, and you can choose different colors. We're going for the blue. Gives us that nice rim light. Of course, you can change the color of that rim light. Oh, sorry, I'm changing the overall tint. Go to the rim light color, and there you go. You can change that to white. You know, if you wanted it to be green for some reason or whatever, you know, you can do that. So yeah, so you can play around with that to affect the look you want. You can change how much, like the power, and all sorts, and gain, or you can lock it down. We'll go for a little subtle one. There we go. That looks kind of cool. It doesn't look very hologram right now. We've got the colors in place and then the look, and we're still keeping some of the material intact, so you get like this desaturated skin, and you know, you can see the textures are still there, because this is just, if I turn this off, it's just the material. It's just the, you know, supplying the color on top of our textures. Anyway, what we want to do is add a texture. So here, click on plus material, stage, texture. We're going to go for an alpha. Okay, and under the alpha, I want to change the loader to 1D gradient, and I'm going to go down here to alpha bars and choose alpha bars. That's all you have to do, choose alpha bars. Under the clamp, change this to wrap, and under the UV 2D mapping, change this to screen aligned. And already you can see we've got two lines cutting through. So you go to your scaling of Y and scale down the Y value until it starts to look like a hologram. Now I don't know how well this is, or how easy it is to see on the screen. However, this looks like a hologram on my screen. If I bring it closer to the screen, you'll see. Hopefully you see. I'll go zoom in, and then I'll adjust the scale better. As you can see, as I bring it in tighter, you get that nice strobing hologram effect. So whatever you put behind it, because this is an alpha, all those spaces, you will see what's behind it. Okay. And the cool thing is, depending on distance, you see the scale adjusts because it's screen aligned. So you know, it's always going to face, it doesn't matter if you rotate him, it's going to look like a hologram from every angle, because it's always going to be that. Cool. Right. So I'm going to scale this back up a little bit. There we go. And I'll scale those lines down on the Y. Okay. Now what we're going to do is animate the white position, so we get like a strobing effect. I'm going to increase that so you can see when I animate the Y position. So the little squiggly line on the value, click it, linear 100, pop that mover out, change, as you can see it's animating, you get this kind of weird strobing effect. You can change duration, you can, you know, and then you see you get more or less, depends on what you want to go, the look you want to go for. And it's just about playing with that duration time and the scaling of the Y. Okay, and I'm happy with that setting there. So I've got this nice little strobing effect. It's not too much, something's happening. I don't know how well it picks it up again, like I said earlier, but it does look cool here. Anyway, so that's one thing we've got. The next thing we want to do, let's add some little points, you know, little sprites from the model. So what I'm going to do is select the model for the axis after its material, hold hold down the right mouse button, select all those, hold down the right mouse button and release under the material. I'm going to say link here, so it's an instance of the model. So we have an instance, there's no materials or textures applied, it's just a grey model. So what I can do is add another material in front of that. So now this material here, for example, if I change this to no light, you'll see it's just solid. It's just a solid model. There's no textures or anything applied. So we're taking the model as a link, an instance, and then the materials applied in front. Okay. I'm gonna change this back to font. Well, actually, yeah, you can leave it as no light for now. It's easier to see. We're gonna go to texture, and we're gonna add a Perlin vertex noise, and you see we get this noisy, like it's distorted the model basically. And it's going into it. So change the bias. You can change the bias and the amount. So by tweaking these two, you can get some cool effect. You know, right now it won't look very cool right now, but give me a second. You can change some of these settings, like the scale of that. Want more or less, you know, how many, doesn't matter. But to see better what we're trying to achieve, go to your draw mode and change drawing to sprites, and now you see these tiny sprites. If you change the scale on the sprites where it says scale, there you go, you can scale it up to see better. And we're just adding a little detail onto our hologram. I'll make these slightly bigger so it's easier to see. Now we're going back to our noise, and now you can change the bias. So if you change that bias, if it lets me change that value, there we go. So if we drag that, and change the amount, and then the bias. It's just play around how much you want. I might say I want that much noise, but you know, and then play around with the UV scale. Once you're happy with that, I kind of like that. I'm gonna go back into here, change this to font. So now the lighting is affecting the sprites, which kind of makes it look more cool. Add the texture to it. You can choose base and alpha, doesn't matter. Base with alpha, texture, loader, and just choose one of these nice little dot textures. You can see now it's got a little texture to it. I just add some bit of detail in there. What we can do as well with the Perlin noise that we've added, we can animate this, so you can see you can have some extra movement going on. So you can go here, click on the little squiggly line. I'm going to choose linear to 360, pop that mover out. Got a lot of noise, maybe you have interference and you want to make that look like it's interference or something. I don't know how well you can see it again. I'll zoom in so you can see. Now it looks like we've got crazy noise going on. But if I change that speed, you know, slow it down, let's do like 150, maybe 500. There we go. As you can see, we've got some kind of noise going on. And of course you will change the sprite size depending on the distance, because if you're far away, you know, you might want it bigger. But it's just really subtle. I just want it really subtle. Just like, yeah, it might be the dust in the environment. You know, if you want to say that's the holograms picking up little dust particles in the environment or whatever. I don't know. Oh, but yeah, depends on the distance. So the scale of your sprites depends on how far it is away, you know, and how easy it is. So right now that's like perfect for that size if it was close up to it. Now, because we're far away, I need to make them bigger. I'm just gonna make the sprites a tiny bit bigger. There we go. It's all about finding that balance. Of course, you can add some blending modes in there if you wanted. So you could, it's an option. So if you click on the alpha blending tab, and you got like screen, what glow. It's really small detail, but yeah, kind of adds just a tiny bit of detail there. So if I go in closer, it's hard to see, but yeah, it's got some kind of additive there. It's looking cool, right? We've got this nice hologram effect. If we take a look at examples, where is it? Hologram. you know, these movie ones, they got the same. They have this outer glow. That's easy. We just add the post effects, add the bloom or the glare. Apart from that, we're pretty much done. It wasn't a very long video. What we're gonna do is animate the guy. So we're gonna animate him because it has an animation. So we import it in. So I'm gonna get a simple control. Simple control, and bam. And I'm gonna get a mover. Right. Drop down to the mover. Minimum will be at 0. And you can see we've already got some movement because it's 1 frame. If we said, okay, I want him to go 11, but right now we're going to 100, and he's going to go all over the place. That's over 1 second, so we want to say maybe 25 seconds. Now he's going to dance 25 seconds. There you go. Now we have our moving hologram, our animated object. We can change this to hologram. Okay. So what you're going to do next is say maybe add a base. For example, you want to add, say, like a circle. And rotate that 90 degrees. Position it below. Scale this. Now the Z space, if I reset the Z space here and scale him down. So make sure he's in the same position, you know, or roughly, doesn't matter. It's going to be our plate, which is going to be the emitting the light. You can design this however you want, because there's multiple versions as you can see. Some just have a texture, some are like got the plate. You got the plate here, like the dish. It depends on really what you want to do, but yeah, you could do that yourself. It's just you can bring in model in from outside, or you can make just basic geometry. So I'm gonna just add a solid color. So I'm gonna say no light. So it's solid because it's like almost like emitting light. Because you know, there we go. If you want, maybe soften the edges a tiny bit so it's not as hard. So you could go maybe add the base alpha and then use the texture property, the loaders, and use one of these materials just to soften the edge a bit. You can go to 2D mapping here, UV0, scale that out a little bit. Yeah, it's not as hard, but it's not as soft either. But if you want it more soft, then of course bring that texture in. It just depends on the material you're using. It's up to you. Let's get an axis again, another one. Let's get a cylinder. You can scale this up, of course. Rotate it 90. Place it, put it in place. Let's scale this up. Change the Z distance, I believe. Yeah, the Z. Let's place a hole in this. Let's add a bevel. As a bezel or bevel. You know, place this here. This is our little device. Nothing fancy. It has no fancy materials right now. If you want to make like a metal PBR texture, or you know, import one in, you can. This is just all extra graphics that don't mean actually anything. It was really the focus was just to create that material effect, you know, that hologram look. But yeah, I'm just adding a little bit extra. So click on this. So don't expect this to look like amazing, but anyway, I'm gonna say Fong, like a grey texture. Perhaps I'll go here and add a roughness texture. I don't know. Actually, let's change it to specular. Texture to specular, and then let's find if I've got any weird textures. Let's see. I must have some. Oh, let's just use this. I don't know what it is. And I'll change the mapping to triplanar model space. Just add something to the speculum in there. And if I change that specular, the sharpness, you can see there's a texture. Change this to wrap. There we go. If you have like a metal one, you know, like a rusty one, then it would look better. I don't think I have. Yeah, actually, maybe we can use this one, imperfections or whatever. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, it's just slightly different, but there we go. Let's change that whole. Let's maybe sharpen those bezels a tiny bit. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is duplicate this, control and duplicate underneath, get a spreader. Like this, I say no. I'm gonna get axes as well. Let's position this up. Oh, sorry, in the Z, like this. Change the scale. So the scale, bring this in a tiny bit. And change the angle. We'll start, use the spreader, increase that count, change the rotation on the Z, and then we just got different elements. Of course you can, you know, offset those if you wanted. Let's make this a lot smaller. Make the hole smaller, and now these can, you know, be some weird device, but yeah, I'm just kind of making, you can see I'm just making this up as I go along, but yeah, you can make all these extra pieces, and you know, you can go into all of that, adding the detailed stuff. There you go. So next, let's just go in here, add some effects. So go here, effects, add a glare, and change some of the glare settings. So you know, maybe you want to boost that gain, change the diameter. Now we get that nice glow. Hopefully this might be useful. Hopefully this is useful. It might not be useful. You know, maybe animate this, say 360. Pop that out, change that duration. There you go, we've got a little hologram on a plate. Nothing fancy, it's looping. If you want, you can go that little bit extra. Let's just make it interactive. Let's make this interactive. Let's make a button that turns this on. So let's animate this, create an animation for this perhaps. We're just going to that little extra step. We're going to take this a little bit further. So I've got that plate material, which is going to be here. Okay, maybe I'll call this plate. And then we've got the spreader. We maybe want to animate this spreader. So I'm going to take that and say rings. I'm going to rename this rings. Okay. And of course we have the hologram. Now I could animate each material, but I'm just gonna, just for now, place an alpha in front, both of those, and I'll say okay, I want this to alpha on. So these are the three elements I want to animate. I'll get keyframe animation. Yeah, I'm going to take the opacity, keyframe that. I'm going to take the Z position and keyframe that, and I'll take this alpha and keyframe that. So if I go to my timeline, animation, I'm happy with this end position, right? So if I work in seconds, let's say it takes a second for it to boot on, okay, and when it's off, the plate is off, so 0. It could be at 0. Actually, not 0. Let's just do it at 2%. There we go. So it's still there. So 2%. These rings. maybe they're sitting like this, so set that, and this is a 0 because there's no hologram. There we go. Set a key full. So this is our start position. Right now it just fades on, so perhaps you want this to be quicker. And then the plate animates in, and then the plate animates in, then this, let's bring this in like 0.8, and then perhaps this flickers on, so maybe it goes to 100, so it goes bam, and then maybe it drops to like 20, then I don't know, 60. There we go. So now it looks like it's powered up, and then we can just offset this a tiny bit. There we go. Maybe we'll make these rings a little bit more extreme, so they go a tiny bit up. Maybe actually they settle back here. I'm happy with it to be like there, and then maybe here go up. So add another key, up here. There we go. Go hit play. There we go. Cool. Now what I'm gonna do on the rings, we have that spreader. I'm gonna add an oscillator. Make that nice and bouncy. Change that to about 12. Reset that. Now hit play. There you go. Maybe we don't need that to go that far, so delete that middle ring. This is up to you really. You can play around with it. There you go. Oh, you don't need the oscillator. I don't think we need the oscillator. I think I'm happy with that just as it is. There we go. Cool. And what I actually might do, I don't want that to, I'm going to disconnect that spreader, and I don't want it to rotate on the Z like that. I'll keep that Z rotation for that spreader. So I want to keep that offset. So I got this offset. I never want them to be stacked like this. So instead of me animating that like that, so I position it how I like them to be positioned. If you want, you can increase that count. If you want to add more, for example, you could do that. But I'll leave it at 5 for now. Anyway, I want to animate the rotation on this. Why? Oh, the Z. I guess it'll be the Z. So just link the Z back to that mover. There you go. So that's doing that. I shouldn't have disconnected that was my bad. I disconnected the Y position. So I can make the animation back up for the Z. Where's that? Connect that back up. There we go. Set key here, and here it'll be like we had it already. 0. Set key. Bam. Hologram turns on, and this guy's dancing. Okay, let's add a little power button. Simple. We're not going to design the button, but we're just going to add an axis, and we're going to get a cylinder. Okay, I'm going to scale this up. I'm going to add a material so we can see it better, and gonna change this material to a no light. There you go, there's your button. You can position this however you want in your scene, it doesn't matter right now. Okay, I'm gonna scale it in the Z. Right, bring this forward. Right now it's powerful because it's got no color, and then the bloom or the glare, the post effect that we're adding on here is quite powerful. We'll fix that in a second, that's not a problem. Alright, go for like a red button. Okay, now we want to say change the settings on the cylinder itself. So I want to say align to, or is it bottom? Is it align to bottom? No. Z, which would be maybe rear. There we go, rear. And we want to animate that value. We can just get a mover and let's put in the value. So say our maximum value is 0.29. 0.29, and our minimum value will be, when you push it down, 0.01. right? 0.01. Okay, might have to flip those values around, but we'll see in a second. Drop the Z on there. Just change the mode to one shot. Yeah, so we need to flip these values around, it's no problem. So 0.29, and then 0.01, and when I hit nudge, so this is what our touch button will trigger, this nudge. So we press that and it will trigger the animation. Okay, so you can maybe add a bezel edge. So let's go to material, change this to form. Let's add a point light on this as well. Let's parent a point light to this. I'll just parent in there here. If I turn on window objects, change that range. There we go. Bring this up in the Z. You can see our button, and I'll increase that gain. I'm just lighting the button up. Where should no, don't do that. Do not do that. What we're gonna do is click our texture. We're gonna do no light. I'm gonna add a texture, bez with alpha. Then I'm gonna load in the texture. It can be whatever you want. It can be anything. On a nice glossy texture, so we'll go for like this crumble. And I'm gonna change that UV mapping to 3D mapping. Camera space reflection, and I will go to clamp and I'll change this to wrap, and you can change that here. Change some of the scale. There we go. If you get a blurred one, it look nicer. You can go into that the thing and change your bevel size. There we go. Cool. And now I'm gonna press nudge. There we go. Oh, perhaps we went too small on the value, so maybe 0.1. There we go, 0.1. This is our red button. I want to get a more blurred one. Let me just load in the blurred version of that. There we go. So that's not as sharp. You can change that color whatever you want. Reddish. Cool. So you can position this button wherever you want on your screen. I'll place it actually, let's place it on this little object on here. Let's scale it down. Add a nudge. Add a touch button, and we want to link it to the nudge of the mover. So touch button to here. and the nudge will go to this. I will say single tap, so we'll press that. You can see it's pressed it inwards. Might be hard to see, change that reflection a little bit. Okay, now you can see, should be able to see that pressing in. I don't know how easy it is to see, but if I do it, you can see if I click on it, we're triggering that button. Now all we have to do is link the animation, so we can set a state. We can do, let's say, Shift S and Shift S, 2 soft states for example, and let's just do next to next. So we just use next to turn it on and off, so toggling the animation. So if I get the animation node now, and then if I press next, brings it in, and I press next, takes it out. So link that to my touch button. I can say single tap. Every time I click that, brings it on, turns the hologram off. There you go. Hopefully that was useful. If you want, then you can go and position this button wherever you want in your scene. You know, it could be on the hologram. You can actually parent it to this whole thing, perhaps, and then reset that. Bring this down, move it forward in Z. Scale this down. Perhaps you want to embed it into that. Into that ring, like this. And make this base of the ring bigger. I'll just increase that size. And an axis. I'll just add an additional axis on that. That allows me to position this. It's down a tiny bit. I can click that button. Right now it's clipping in, so I might need to move it slightly more forwards. See how it looks. There you go. You want to go in and add some additional bloom, you can go into your 3D layer here as well. There's bloom. I can add additional bloom. Up to you really. Hopefully this was some use. It's really basic stuff, nothing fancy, to be honest. But just, you know, if you ever wanted to, you know, maybe try create a hologram effect, you can spend more time making this device or these assets. You know, you can make something really cool. You know, maybe you want to try and make one of these tables or something. I don't know. You can make one of these hologram tables, but yeah, play. You know, try different things, try different options in the materials. There's a ton of stuff you can do in here without even using shade. You don't need to use shaders. So there's, you know, you can use just textures and stuff to get around it. You can also add in here. We can add some RGB noise. If you wanted to make it more, you know, just offset that little blue layer. There you go. But you can add the extra detail, and then if you wanted, you could even animate the distortion effect. So you could put a mover on that, and you could you know, have a little glitch effect if you wanted. You know, you can do all sorts. And you're not limited to what model you can. Now, if say now you want to swap that model out for something else, where it says you know, just place something in front of you. You know, if I'll just block this for now. I'll block these for now. Block these right now. Oh yeah, you can see that's the point. That's the sprite layer. It looks cool as well. But again, yeah, just place a different object or model. So I'll block that Star Wars guy, for example, and let's get another model. Let's just get another model. Let's get general. Oh, that's one you have to pay for. Some we don't have to pay for. We want free one, please. Free stuff. Well, it doesn't matter. Let's just get a person. Person. Or character, should I say? Oh, spelled character wrong. Okay. You want an animated one, and that's free. There we go. I've used this one before in the past, I believe, but I can swap that Star Wars guy out for this, as long as I place it in behind or after the materials we made. Let's see. Close this. Open up the zip. I'll just make a new empty new folder, and then I'll just drop those in there. Unzip it into there. Okay. Go into my scene. Drag the GLTF into here. There we go. Now the position. Well, you do have to take. What's it? Keep in mind this scale and the position might be completely different on each model. That's just because it depends on who's made that model. But as you can see, it's already works. There you go. So yeah, I just dropped in that, and now we've got this effect. Only thing you need to do, keep in mind, is select the materials, maybe say inherit, so now that applies to that, and then just do the instance on the points. If you want the points, just say instance link here. Now we've got then we should have that. Oh, my bad. Edit on link. Remember, it was after the material, so yeah. So edit link here, and also get that axis, because this is built differently, so you do need to make some adjustments, but not massive. There you go. And then the sprites, because they're different sizes, and the bias is different, you might have to tweak little things, but bias, reduce the bias, the amount, and the sprite size. There you go. There you go. And the model itself should be animated. Again, simple control. You can get a mover. Control. Simple progress. I think that there. 0 to 100. And this does this even have an animation? It should have an animation. I don't see an animation. Let's just double check. Yep. It's got a lot of layers, which is, let's see. Maybe this doesn't have a. You can't see an animation here. Just click on the skin. Just delete that. Take the skin. Plain action, plain material, rig action. Yeah. Anyway, for some reason this model doesn't have an animation, which is a shame. I thought I did have this, maybe it was a different one. But you can delete that, it's not a problem. We can delete that. Let's go find another model that's animated. What a shame. What a shame. Let's delete that one. Let's delete that out of folder. Let's go find another animated model. I'm sure it said it's animated, but hey. No, see, oh, they lied to us. They animated other elements, but not that. Oh, what a lie. Let's find one that's animated. Anyone animated characters? It's free. Little dragon. Okay, one's animated. It's not the best animation, but something. Okay, download, and we'll do the same process again. Now this is just extra stuff, so if you want, you can just, you know, end it here. But I'm just gonna just extend this tiny bit longer. I'm gonna just place this material like this. Let me move this bigger. Okay. I'm gonna say link here. This material belongs up here, which is perfect. This one's easier to control. See, depending on how they're built, it's a lot easier to manage. Let's go to the animation. We can get rid of this. We don't need that. That's from that model we just deleted. We can take the control to there. There you go. Let's say 25 seconds. And we'll turn that off. Hologram turns off. Turn it on. Hologram turns on. We've got this dragon hologram that I just swapped out. That's cool. Of course, because this is green, maybe you want to make some adjustments to your, you know, the overall color, because you're going to be going blue and green, but I don't think it has much impact. It might be just the model itself, but yeah, that's cool. Anyway, let's go back to Star Wars guy. Well, yeah, you can just block that, unblock these. There you go. Boom. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your day, morning, night, wherever you are. Hopefully this is some use. It's not the best, but yeah, we made an interactive hollow disk that, you know, you can just turn on and off. But yeah, there you go. Enjoy your day, morning or night. I think I may have changed the particle size on those sprites, so put this up, and then I'll change the bias. I believe I'll change a few settings. Let me reset everything. Reset those. I messed it up a little bit on the settings, but not a big issue. We can somehow fix it. Same other one. It is there. They're there somehow. There they are. I think I can see them. There they are. Nice. If I turn off the distortion, you can see that there's the sprites. So now if we go back in here and we change the draw size, there we go. Cool. Now it's just putting those settings back. Bring that bias back in and change this back to form. Boom. Yep, there you go. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'm happy with that little hologram we made. May the force be with you. Bye bye. If you can, hit that share, like, subscribe, leave comments below. Take it easy. Bye bye.